Ready?
Ready.
Good deal.
Okay. Line up here, straight line.
Pick a chair anywhere.
Anywhere.
Anywhere. Except this one. I'm going to use this one.
Oh, okay. Oh, we're supposed to take notes?
Yeah, as long as you don't spill on yourself.
I'll try not to.
Okay.
Let's see what happens.
Hey Vince, what's happening?
Hi.
You might want to slide down a little bit.
We're gonna need more chairs.
You may need to.
What's happening, Roxanne?
You may want to.
Y cuando los...
We pay, let's see, when do we pay?
Any way you want. I don't.
Okay, what we'll do is we'll take an inventory for
After
this year.
the holidays.
Okay, after the holidays.
After Christmas when it's all gone, right? After New Year's when you paid your taxes.
Well, instead of returning those funky old sweaters we
Got
get,
a
we'll
good
just
spot
throw
right here
them
by
over to you.
Come on, Phyllis. Don't be scared.
She's going to sit behind.
There's one more I've got here.
Hi. If you want, you may want to, you may not want to. It doesn't matter. Because the things I tell you,
We'll
you'll
forget.
remember. Yeah, you'll remember.
Oh my God, we're gonna have American fun. It's gonna be fun. I think I
When they close the doors, it's a little bit.
Why? Which is the video camera? I don't like video cameras.
You
It's
don't?
right on you.
Where?
Well, it's already on, so. No, it's going to be on me.
Good.
Hi. How you doing?
Not yet.
Oh, I should say howdy. I just got back from Utah skiing and snowboarding, and howdy is the, it's snowing like crazy there. I don't know. How many of you have ever been where it was really snowing like crazy?
Snowbird
Okay. Yeah.
Park.
Well, I grew up in Utah, and we do what we call the snow crazies, where when there's one more right here,
Oh, okay.
and where sometimes when it gets to snowing,
Second row, second row.
yeah, bring it over.
Go across your legs.
Oh, this is getting to be a little kinko here.
Boy, way too much fun.
Who brought the bomb?
Anyway, sometimes when it gets really snowing like insanely, we get what we call the snow crazies. We go just a little bit crazy. You guys from Southern California probably won't understand it, so let me explain to you what happens. It's been so long since you saw a sun that you just get a little weird. And you start running around, and everybody of every age, you start running around with your tongue out trying to catch snowflakes on your tongue.
Did he start already?
No,
He's trying to
Is there
motivate
anything we
us.
could do in here to make everybody happy, or does this look like it's okay?
Pizza.
bring more money, bring
Salad, bring in
coffee.
salad.
Yeah.
We have 2 more.
Okay. Yeah, there's plenty of
More?
Well,
There's no disease. How many people they can get in their jobs?
There's plenty of room. I like this guy.
Plenty of room. There's always
You're not
plenty
gonna
of
believe
room.
how much I gotta bitch after you leave.
Oh, well. Give them room to cross their legs back there so they can. We still looking for chairs?
Well, as soon as that.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, I got the snow crazies. I was skiing, and I think I told you guys when I was here last that I had a grandson born, and I went up to see him. That's where my daughter lives, and I went skiing, and I did something new. Anybody ever snowboarded before? It's really weird. I mean, I've been skiing since I was yeah. I was about this big. I've been skiing, and I'm a very good skier. In fact, one year I was on a ski patrol at one of the resorts in Utah. Back when I was going to college, when I could have hair down my shoulders and get away with it. Anyway, but the snowboarding is really, it's weird. I mean, it's just,
funny?
yeah, it is fun. It's a riot, but it's
Aren't you
different.
afraid you're gonna lose control and
Yeah,
go
well,
into a tree?
there's no fear there because it happens. No, the guy that rented me the snowboard said, you'll find that you're going to be on your rear end more than you're on your feet. And I thought, well, come on, I've been skiing since,
No, your chair's here.
you know, for 30 years, I've been skiing, and so, hey, I'm not gonna be falling down. He says, bring a snowsuit just in case, because I was skiing Levi's, because I don't fall down anymore. Well, I brought this snowsuit and I put it on, and let me tell you something, I was on my rear end while I was standing up. It was like being a newborn child learning to walk all over again. Hi.
There's one more.
Is there one more coming? Okay. Boy, this is a tight-knit group. We're gonna have some fun here today. I like it when you're up front.
I hope hypnosis is touchy-feely type stuff.
Let me out of here.
You are sitting very close.
Yeah, your butts in front of him.
Is this last person coming in?
Yes, holler. Donna Haynes.
Donna Haynes.
She's right there.
No, Marty Perez.
Are you coming in?
Sorry.
All we need is a journey.
Yeah, it's already getting touchy-feely in here. First one to get hit.
Is that it?
If Ray Sanchez comes, we're not letting him in. How's that
He
sound?
can lie down. He can-
Sorry.
First one to put under.
I have to apologize for something first, and because it's a small room, I'm gonna take off my jacket. You can too, everybody else, you too. Please, feel free to take off your jacket. But I have to apologize because what I do is I pay my daughter to do my shirts. And sometimes they don't look real good, and I got some stain on my shirt. I promise not to notice. My
Let's
daughter.
compare stains.
Blame it on your daughter.
Well, okay. Well, hey, she's not here. So who am I going to blame it on?
Right.
Myself? No. I'm crazy.
Probably.
You know, everybody's looking at me.
Chinese
You wouldn't have said
laundry.
anything, nobody would have even noticed.
Oh, that's a big
It's
stain.
an ugly. There's the one in the back too, but I'm not going to turn around. I've got the button up here.
I'm doing lines.
Okay,
This is one too. Oh, I did. Oh, I got some here too. Well,
Take off your shirt then.
I'll wear a clean shirt next time, okay? Any problems with that? Okay, good. I'm gonna establish the ground rules here of this series of seminars so that you guys feel very comfortable, know where you are in advance. I don't want anybody to say, well, gosh, I didn't know I was supposed to do that. What I want you to do is be comfortable. I want you to be happy and enjoy yourselves, because this is a learning experience, and I want you to feel good about learning. One of the things about learning, however, is that you participate. I'm a class participation kind of guy, and if you don't participate, then I think you're asleep, and then I wake you up by something that you don't like. Remember when the Quakers first came to America and they had those little things that attacked their people and they had to wake them up in church? Well, I'll get the camera.
You're in Quakertown.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, so please stay awake. Now, there is one thing that I'm going to ask you. Most of you guys are already in good position, but there are a couple of you already that are saying, okay, let's see what you got.
This
one right here.
He's just not done
This
with
gang in
his
the
coffee.
back. See, I always like to sit in the back. So, sit up straight, guys. Act like you're interested, even if you're not. You know, the old fake it till you make it kind
Can
of.
we have one introduction? I don't think anyone knows
Oh.
Robert. Robert Delgado joined us yesterday from Century 20 Romero. He's been an agent for how many years? 3 years. From ERA Romero. And he's joining us today. It's his first day in the office.
Good.
Congratulations.
Great. Robert, take off your jacket.
We
Show us your stains.
Take it off, take it off.
put him to work.
Okay. Oh, somebody is here.
She's here? She's on the phone. Okay, this is the only interruption.
Here, take the phone call.
Just keep the lights on. Yes,
Anybody who leaves
Have to
gives
pay
me
for
$5
everyone else.
before they leave, and then $5 more when they come back in.
Right, put the music on.
And then we'll have a big party, just a bunch of us. Okay, one of the other ground rules is that in these series, we're going to get into some things, especially in the last one, that are very personal to people. And what we want to do here is be able to trust everybody. And so what I want you to do is I want you to commit to me. Don't look around. We're going to get into things. We're not gonna, nobody's going to be, I'm not going to hypnotize anybody to have them take their clothes off or anything. But that sounds like a good idea. No, I'm not. Vince told me I couldn't do that. Anyway, but what I'm going
afraid
to
it
do
might be
is...
him.
We're afraid it might be.
Good point.
Okay, I won't do that. Anyway, what I am going to do though is I'm going to get into some things that might even be more personal with you more in the last session that are more personal, deep down inside your subconscious than even your physical body. So please be aware of that. Now, I'm not going to do anything that would embarrass you because, of course, we're all friends here, right? We all trust each other, right?
Right.
Okay. Well, keep some of those things to yourself then.
Real estate.
Okay. That's right. That's right. I forgot. Okay. Gosh, how could I forget that? The first thing we want to do today is we want to now establish what's going to happen over the next 4 weeks. And so if you'll take one of these and, here, sorry, I'll give you one. It's not a good idea. What we're going to talk about, hand me one so I remember the schedule, please. Thanks. What I'm going to do is have you take, each one of you can have one of these, and this is just a schedule of what we're going to discuss, so that you know which day, which subjects are going to come up. And I think I have one up here. Today we're going to talk about bonding and perseverance. Then next week, December 1st, we'll be talking about personalities and concentration. When we talk about personalities and concentration, personalities, if you remember from my introduction a couple of weeks ago, the personality session is on, how to differentiate between different people so that you'll be more effective in dealing with them. You can divide people into different personality groups, and each one performs differently. And that's what the personalities part is on. The concentration part is really a learning exercise so that each one of you can learn how to really concentrate on the things that you're doing. When I've helped people pass the state exam, or some students I've helped with studying at school, the biggest problem is concentration. It's not that they're not smart, but they don't know how to concentrate. And so that's what we're going to be talking about that second half of that. On the 8th, habit modification and self-hypnosis. Habit modification is going to be a session where if you smoke, one of you will probably quit smoking that day. Maybe all of you. Did you kick her because she smokes?
I kick her back and she kicked me.
Okay.
No, because you smoke.
1, 2, 3. I'm counting you.
Counting the smokers. Okay, well, if we only have 3, guys, that's not bad.
No, there's more than 3.
Oh, we're just,
Half of this room.
we just lost. Oh, they're just the ones that want to quit. The rest of them are real adults, and they're going to face cancer like an adult, right?
And you're gonna pay for it.
Yeah, that's right. And habit modification is not just for smoking; it's for all kinds of things.
Overeating.
That's right. Now, self-hypnosis. What I'm going to teach you about when we do the self-hypnosis one is how to hypnotize yourself on your own at home later. And we're going to go through a hypnosis session that time, and that'll probably be the first one, unless somebody wants to be hypnotized today or next week. That'll be the first one. Does somebody want to be hypnotized today? Good.
Is that habit forming?
Hypnosis?
You need a habit, huh?
I can give you a couple of good habits, cigarettes or something. No, hypnosis is not, self-hypnosis is not habit forming. But it can be fun, can be enjoyable, and can be good for you.
Roxanne wants to.
No, I'm too scared.
You are? Well, you can observe without participating in that
Okay,
process.
I'll watch.
Sure. Sure.
Somebody tried to do that and they couldn't tell me.
You couldn't? Well, my basic theory is that almost anybody can be hypnotized. And I've proven that. I have a very good friend whom I had a really hard time hypnotizing. Probably because we were friends and other reasons. But I tried, let me tell you this, I tried 19 induction methods on this guy. There are about 100 different methods to induce hypnosis. And I tried 19 on him before I finally got the right one. And so you can see, they might have tried 1 or 2 or 3 and said, well, this is too much work, and we go on. And that happens. It happens quite a bit. Hypnotherapists kind of fall into a trap, just like everybody else. They say, this is comfortable, and then they start doing the same induction method time after time, and they don't try the others. And so they forget all about it. So anyway, so you're probably hypnotizable. Now, there are some people who are not. But most people are. Okay, suggestibility is another thing we'll talk about then too. And then the last lecture is on goal and time management. And we talked a little bit about that, and on what the goals, how the goals relate with time, time management. We're gonna really get into that, and then last of all, we're gonna talk about taking action. And that one is the one where we really get into your subconscious mind and we really figure out what you really want. And we assist you in making those kinds of goals so that you'll be able to achieve those, the things you really want. The things you really want, not the things that your mom wants or your dad wants or your spouse wants, but the things you want. And after all, those are the things that we're going to accomplish. Okay, any questions about the itinerary? Okay, I think in college, it's been a long time, did they call that a syllabus? My daughter came back home with that word, what is syllabus? Anyway. Okay, so what are we talking about today? We're talking about bonding. Now the question is there ever somebody in your life that you would like to get to know or get along with better? Is there someone whom you have just not known or thought you didn't know them well enough and you really wanted to but you didn't know how? Anybody have somebody like that? That they were just a little distant somehow. I think we all have somebody like that in our life. In fact, when we go out on a listing presentation, help me out here. Is most of your business listings, you like them to get listings, or do you like them to work with buyers more, or what's your posture here?
Listings seem to make for more successful agents overall.
Okay. And when you go out on a listing presentation, have you ever walked into a home and they didn't like you immediately? You haven't? You're a lucky girl.
Well,
But
it may not be a matter of not liking you, but just not, ever warming up sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes. Well, I'm going to tell you something that Tom Hopkins, how many of you have heard of Tom Hopkins? Tom Hopkins said nobody will do business with you unless they like you and trust you.
Right.
Now, I think what he meant was long-term, because I've seen realtors do business with people that absolutely hate them. In fact, I had a guy in my office that had a client that we were selling his house, and the guy called me, he says, I want a new agent, I hate this guy, I absolutely can't stand it. And he went on and on and on, and going, well, calm down, and there was nothing I could do to help him out. He just hated it, and that was all there was to it. This guy could have overcome that if he'd done some of the things that I'm going to teach you. But they continued to do business with him because that was their only option. And they liked the way the office did business, so they did business with it. But they won't do business long term. Now, what I mean by long term is, how many of you have been in the business more than 10 years? Okay. Do you get a lot of referrals from past clients?
Not well since I moved this office.
But you did in a previous office? Most people do. That's not me.
It's on the right.
Put it on vibrate. That's 2 interruptions
This
already.
button.
That's
$10.
My daughter did that last
You
night.
owe us $20 each. Wasn't that the agreement?
I'll turn it down.
wasn't here.
You know what I turned? I did
You
turn
turned
it.
it up, didn't you?
I turned it down, but the office probably cooled off, so it went off. But I'll turn it down for her.
Leave the door open. Anyway, if you've ever had the situation where somebody hasn't given you any referrals, maybe it's because they really didn't feel comfortable with you. It's not that you did a bad job, but you may have done a really good job and they didn't feel like you were their best friend, or they didn't feel like they could somehow trust you, one or the other. And what we're going to talk about today is how to get people to like you and trust you, so that they will do business with you long term. So you'll get those referrals down the road. So that 5 years from now, somebody calls you and says, I bought this house from you 5 years ago, and you go, oh yeah, great, I don't remember your name, let me look it up in the files. And you look it up in the files, and by golly, they did, bought a house from you 5 years ago. But in the meantime, they're saying, and I have this friend who's moving into town and they want to buy a house, and you're the only realtor I can think of that I really like and I really trust. And that's what you're looking for, is those referrals. Because you can knock on doors, you can make cold calls, you can do all the things that are necessary to get all the leads. But until you really get people to like you and trust you, you're not going to get a lot of referrals. Now, trusting, let me approach trusting right now, because trusting is a kind of a tough one. Trusting is when you do what you say you're going to do. When you say, I'll be there at 6 o'clock, you're not there at 10 after like most realtors. You're not there at 20 after. You're there when you're supposed to be. That's trust. When they say, well, how's my escrow coming? You know the answer. if there's something wrong with it, you know what it is, and you've got the solution or the potential solutions for it. And that's what trust comes from. Trust comes from doing and performing the way that you're expected to do and perform. Now, I can't change that for you. You have to change that internally. That's something that you have to do for yourselves. And if they do like you and trust you, then it's gonna happen. Now, how do you get people to like you? Who's the top lister in this office? Are they here?
Carlos, no, he's not here.
Okay. Who's the top out of everybody that's here? Who has the most listings right now?
If I answer, they'll get mad. Why don't they answer?
I'm the best. I'm the best. I'm the best. Good. I like that.
Probably Marty, Roxana, Terry. I mean, there's probably 3 or 4 people that are pretty close
Good.
together.
Okay. What's your name?
Roxana.
Roxana. When you walk into someone's home to list their property, how do you greet them?
How do I greet them?
You're standing at the door, you ring the bell.
Instead I take my clothes off.
I got a house for sale.
I introduce myself. I say hello. I'm Roxana with Century 21 Cornerstone.
Okay. And they say, well, come on in.
Yes.
And you go in, do you shake their hand?
Always.
Always? It never fails.
Never.
Anybody who has had a hard time getting a listing hear that? Why do you suppose that is? Got any ideas? Any ideas?
Touching probably has something to do
It
with
does.
bonding.
It does. It has a lot to do with bonding. It has a lot to do with it. But what we're going to talk about today is a little bit different than touching you. It's the things that you see. We're going to talk about the way that you bond instantly with people in respect to communication. When you communicate with other people, you're sitting down at a kitchen table with them. You've looked at their home, whatever, and is that where you do it? Is it the kitchen table?
Usually or the dining room.
At a table.
At a table.
At a table. Okay. Now, when I used to teach my people, the place I wanted them to sit was at a table, either the dining room table or the kitchen table. And what I would do is, borrow this. What I would do is I would say, okay, and I want you to always sit the husband to your immediate right, if you're right-handed. Are you all right-handed? Anybody left-handed here? It's easier if you're right-handed.
Realtors?
I'm not left-handed.
Aren't you?
No, Bill's left-handed.
Okay.
No,
And the
right.
reason I sat the husband to the right was because whether he's the decision maker or not is irrelevant. He thinks he is. Okay. And his wife usually wants him to think he is, and so you want him to sit in this position, so that as you're writing, he can see the agreement real easily. I mean, if he's sitting over there, you're right, and then you know, and that's pretty awkward. It's much easier if he's right here, and then the wife next to him. And not clear across the table, not in another room, but there. So that if it's a husband-wife team, that they're right there together, side by side, making this decision together. And I'm going to tell you why that is. The first thing is, he's the decision maker, whether he thinks he is or not. I mean, whether he is or not. He thinks he is. And she wants him to think he is, even if she is. And she can see the agreement just as easily when you show it to him that way, too. And they maintain their positions of authority in the family that way, so you don't break anything down. It happens. The other thing is I'm going to teach you about today a principle called matching and mirroring. Has anybody heard of matching and mirroring before? Okay, you've heard of it. We're going to talk about it today. What happens subconsciously to a person is they look at you and they see and hear you in everything that you say and do, the way, in some kind of relationship to their subconscious mind, to the way that they do things. People, you see, tend to like you more if they are like you, and they tend to dislike you if they're not like you. Now, you've heard the song Opposites Attract, and you've heard that. How many of you have heard that? Opposites Attract. That's in magnets. It's not people. Okay. Magnets, you put the north and the north together, they repel each other. You put the north and south together and they attract. But people are quite different. People, when they meet you, they want you to be like them or something that they would like to be like. So if you're just a little bit better at something than they would like to be, then they'll like you. If you're a lot better, they might not like you. But if you're just a little bit better, then they'll probably like you. if you're just like them in many ways, that's the kind of person that you bond with best. Are you married? What's your name? I'm sorry.
Phyllis.
Okay, who's married? Who's married? You're married.
Yeah, I am.
Okay, tell me, is your husband more like you?
Oh, yeah, we think alike and everything. Oh, yeah.
You do, and you're married.
Yeah, I think so today, yeah.
Okay. We're gonna ask her, she's saying yeah today. Okay, who else is
Let's get
married?
next time.
You're married.
Yes.
Is your wife quite a bit like you?
No.
Okay, and that happens. People marry that are not a lot alike. But what happens in a marriage is they tend to subconsciously say to themselves, this person is like me in these ways and I can accept that. And they're not like me in these ways and I might be able to accept that. But what happens is those ways that you are different become a wedge and they drive themselves between you and they drive you apart. And so the best thing to do is to be as much like your spouse as you can, or your friends, or those whom you want to list at home.
Well, you know,
Be like them.
excuse me. Sometimes when you first get married, you're not alike at all.
That's right.
And then when you're married a long time, all of a sudden, you're
got
same
used to it.
person.
You
Yeah,
look in the
you-
mirror and you think you're
You
looking at
even
your spouse.
start looking alike.
No, that's like your poodle.
Poodle too. You know, when I first got married, my wife and I were on our honeymoon, and we went into this restaurant for breakfast at about 2 in the afternoon, and the waitress says, "Well, I'm sorry, but your sister and you and your sister can't have breakfast. It's 2 in the afternoon." First off, it's not my sister; it's your wife. And the second thing is, I don't care if it's 2 o'clock. We want breakfast. And I thought, wait a minute, sister, I better think more on that. You know what? We looked a lot alike. We really did look a lot alike when we were younger. And you know what? We're looking a lot, even more alike now. She's a good-looking girl. In fact, she looks more like me than my twin sister. My wife is a little bit shorter than me, dark hair, slender. My twin sister is short, blonde, green eyes. You know, I mean, there's just, anyway. But we tend to become more like them. In fact, my wife looks more like me, I think, today than she ever did. Her nose is still the same one with a little dent in the front, you know. But her mannerisms and her actions and the way she thinks is just like the way I do. And so if you can get people to be like you, or if you can be like them, then they will trust you and really like you more. And trust, of course, is an element of that. So how do you get people to like you? How do you get to be more like them? What kinds of things can you do that will make you more like them? Let's talk about that. The first thing is the way you speak. Now, there was a study done at UCLA, 10 years ago or more, that showed that as much communication as we do, only 7% of it, that's a real small amount of it, is in words, the words we use. 37% of it is in the way we use those words, the way we phrase our sentences, our voice, the different things that go along with our voice. And a full 56% of it is in the way that we use our physical bodies. Now, how many of you have heard about this study before? And some of you have. And some of you have used some of the things that you've learned, haven't you? Or have you?
Yeah, mirroring.
Okay, mirroring. Okay. When you mirror or when you match, well, first off, let's decide what matching and mirroring is. Matching and mirroring are principles developed by a couple of guys named Bandler and Grinder. And these two guys developed what is called NLP, or Neuro-Linguistic Programming. And in NLP, there are a whole different thing, myriad of things that are encompassed with NLP, and only one of which is matching and mirroring. What they're saying is that if you match somebody in the things that they do or say, or on and on and on, the things we're going to discuss, if you will match them, then their subconscious will say to them that you are just like me, and they will be drawn into you, and that eventually, as this gets better, you will be able to change their behavior as you change your own. Now, the difference between matching and mirroring is matching the way someone does things, and mirroring is doing things just the opposite. And we'll talk more about that in a few minutes. Some of the things that you can match in the way people speak are their words. one of my favorite words is for instance. That sounds like one word, doesn't it? I always use it as one word. For instance. How many words is that? For instance. That's really 2 words, isn't it? Okay, but when I use it, it's for instance. And if you really wanted to bond with me, and you wanted my subconscious to say, yeah, the words are just like mine, you'd be saying for instance about every other sentence. And my subconscious wouldn't even pick it up. Because you'd be going along in your everyday conversation with me, and for instance, you'd say, for instance, and I wouldn't pick it up, because I'm so used to hearing it, that it would just go in my ear and through to my brain, and it would work. Subconsciously, you'd be there, okay? You'd be bonding with me with the things that I say. Now, each one of you can look at people, or experience them, go to a listing presentation, or wherever you go to a bar to pick up some guy if you're not married. Or guy, you pick up a girl. Or if you are. Okay. Anyway, and you can use these skills. Match the things that they say. Match the way they say them. Now, the sentence structure is also important. Some people speak completely differently. My wife and I were discussing languages last night. Her sister just came in from Nepal, and she was speaking some language, Nepalese or however they say that. And she was talking about the sentence structures, just like almost every other language in the world except English. We structure our sentences backwards. We put the verb in the middle instead of at the end, for instance. Sorry. Okay, and the Nepalese and the Spanish language, German, almost all of them, the verb is at the end. And we're just weird, we Americans, we English speakers. So structure your sentences the way they do too. Now, one of the other things that you can match is the way they say those words. Now, give me a sentence like you would say something to your wife.
Get out of here.
All right.
Okay. Now, if you said, get out of here, what would she do?
What are you getting me?
Okay, let's go to somebody else. Okay, but if you said, get out of here, that's a whole different thing, isn't it? The way that it's said means a lot. When I was a little kid, my mom would say, Kent Ernest Adams, it meant I'm in real trouble. When she was talking to the neighbors, and say, yeah, his name is Kent Ernest Adams. Nothing at all. But boy, when she called my name, all 3 names, I mean, I knew she meant business, and I was in trouble. I was going to get it. As soon as my dad got home.
Yeah.